What a doozy. Becomes international news. The Daily Mail picking up that a Muslims-only water park adventure at a taxpayer-funded DFW water park in Grand Prairie. The residents of Grand Prairie have to pay 1/4 cent sales tax when they go and they buy stuff. And guess what that means? That the people of the city of Grand Prairie are subsidizing a Muslim-only discriminatory event. There is so much to get into this. And really, I have a lot more questions than answers. And one of the things I'm going to get into, I'm going to show you all the different swimsuits. They have a complete list of all the appropriate swimsuits that Muslim women can wear at this event. You want to talk Stepford Wives. You want to talk stuff like that. You want to talk about, what was the other movie? Not the Stepford Wives, but The Handmaid's Tale. You want to talk about those two? Where are the activists? We're getting all that coming up in just a minute. And then also I have, Tanner Horner, the murderer of little Athena Strand, who is on trial for the death penalty phase of his case for murdering her and raping her. And we have found out there's another additional victim of rape coming forward, which would be 3 separate people. We also have a psychiatrist today who labeled in the death penalty phase, labeled him as a sexual deviant and a sadist. He is not some guy who's troubled with autism or Asperger's or any other stuff, who just can't deal with his issues, which led to raping one little girl and murdering her. It's way bigger than that. And I want to get into that in just a moment, big time, with a whole bunch of new stuff. It is incredible what we're learning today. But the word Satan describes him best, because he has been preying on little girls and little boys for years. And he knows everything of what he does. Epic City. You know, I've seen over the past several days, since the last bevy of stories came out about Epic City, so many people are opining as if something definitive has happened. There's some good things going on, but it's not what everybody else is trying to make it out to be, which is why I've held fire for several days and culled and gathered more information on Epic City. And the latest with that, they can call it the Meadows, but it's an Islamic city. It's an Islamist city, a Muslims-only city. We'll get to that in just a moment, and I have so much more. But first, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin's been my CPA for almost a decade now, over 9 years, and a dear friend of mine, and can't wait to tell you in a little bit about a great major award he won from his alma mater, UT Austin, which is the best accountancy school in the state of Texas, which is where he went and got a CPA license from. But I'm going to be visiting him this week, going to the office, because my taxes, I got a little extension. So we'll be telling you about that story after I have my meeting with Randy. I'll have him on again. Talk about stuff that can help you. But first, let's start out with this. This is the ad that says Muslims only. For this Eid al-Fitr, to celebrate the end of Eid al-Fitr. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, it says Muslim-only event. And you're about to see in a moment, I'm going to show you some pictures of what they are telling the girls and the women and the men to wear at this event. Exclusive access to Epic Indoor Water Park. Gee, are you surprised that Epic Indoor Water Park is being bought out for a day by Epic Mosque? I'm not. East Plano Islamic Center. And then you look at there, for Muslims only, a family-friendly environment. Muslims only. I don't know what's family-friendly about misogyny that is baked into the cake with Islam. I don't know what's family-friendly about telling a woman that if she doesn't cover herself, it'll be her fault if a man is tempted to do something horrible to her. I don't know what's family-friendly about that. And then so they have private prayer areas. We'll go back to the post here. You can see it. Private prayer areas, closed to the public, Muslims only. Wow. Here's some of the questions that I have on this. Are they going to check my Muslim card if I show up there? How will they know if I am Muslim? How will they know if you are Muslim? Muslims only. How do they check that? Do I have to repeat the Quran in Arabic? Do I need to show a Muslim card or something of that nature? I don't know. But that just struck me as odd. How, in a metropolitan area of 8 million people, are you going to make sure it's Muslims only? The instructions are also really telling. And if this was a Christian-only event, first of all, what do you think the reaction would be if this was a Christians-only event? That would be very interesting, wouldn't it? Second of all, if this were a Christian-only event, what do you think the media and the public would say, the non-Christian or anti-Christian, leftists would say, and others would say about how the Christians and the conservative Christians, the evangelical Christians, if we had an evangelical Christians-only event, what would they say about the things in here about here's a list of what you can dress, and here's pictures of how you can dress. Guess what else they say? You need to avoid gazing. You are to uphold Islamic etiquette by lowering the gaze. Look down. No, we're not talking about gay people as in gay, G-A-Y-S. No, we're not talking about lowering the gaze. No. We're not asking for midget gay people. No. Lowering the gaze means your gaze look down. You're not supposed to even be looking up as you're walking. The women are told to wear stuff. This is literally a link they have for the women. Here's what you should wear, women. Look at this. How oppressive. How would this be if this was a Christians-only water park event? If the pictures like this were released saying this is what Christian women must wear. Here's the modest picture of clothes. Even the little girls. Why does a little girl have to cover everything up? Is it because if she doesn't, cover up fully, that she too is going to be blamed for tempting a man to do something bad? And so these are your different swimsuits that are approved for the women. And I just think it makes me think about Stepford Wives. It makes me think about The Handmaid's Tale. That's what they say about us, people like myself, who is a conservative Christian evangelical, that we're the ones who are supposedly horrible to women and we mistreat them and all sorts of stuff. So I'll get into the coverage here in a second, but remember this. The message is being very clear, is that if you don't wear modest clothes and a man's tempted, it'll be your fault. Now let's continue with the coverage of this. And again, I want to ask, how are they going to know if you're Muslim or not? Are they going to check your Muslim card? Are they going to make you repeat the Quran in Arabic or something? And by the way, here's the big question. The question is it even legal to have a Muslims-only event at a publicly owned water park? Is it okay? Now, I understand they're renting it out for the day. But is it okay for a public facility to allow a Muslims-only event? And I don't know, but I'm willing to bet there's a chance that that could be illegal. I don't know. But it should be illegal. If you want a Muslims-only event, have it on a place that's private property. Nobody's going to say anything to you. We might not like what you do, but it's private property as long as it's legal. So, Epic Waters in Grand Prairie they say they demand a modest dress code and only serve halal slaughtered meat. Posters for the event say Muslims only to create a family-friendly environment, as if to say that non-Muslims are not family-friendly. Tickets starting at $55 each. Men and women will not be separated. Of course, the women will have to cover up every inch of their body, head to toe. How sad is that? I wonder how many liberal women would join in this faith and do this. I actually remember I had a woman when I was doing a talk show in Atlanta at the big talk station there. A young woman who used to be liberal, white lady, she became a Muslim, and she bought all the garb and everything, and she said she had to leave it. It was oppressive, and it was very demeaning and degrading towards women, etc. That was her experience. She gave me her niqab, hijab, whatever. It was the entire thing, covering everything up. And I wore it and did kind of a media stunt way back when. But anyway, posters say Muslims only. Men and women will not be separated, but attendees are told to uphold Islamic etiquette by lowering the gaze throughout the day. Lower the gaze. You're not allowed to look up. Please follow the event's modest dress code and practice haya, which is modesty, through respectful behavior. Expected to dress in accordance with Islamic values. They said you have to be dressed in accordance to Islamic values. The water park says all swimwear must meet Muslim guidelines. Again, how can this be legal at a city-owned, a publicly funded park? I'm shocked. You know what this makes me think about? Every year, the State Fair of California, it is not the State Fair of Texas, when they took away our guns and went woke, they became the State Fair of California. They Californiaed our Texas. And this reminds me of the State Fair of Texas and the battle to try to ban them from Fair Park because it's public property, owned by the city, I believe, of Dallas. And there was a whole thing about that, and the city says, while that land is publicly owned and while we can concealed carry on that site, the State Fair of Texas, State Fair of California, rents that site, and they can make up some extra rules when the renting was the apparent decision. But it makes me think about that. But this is publicly owned. Now, let's continue on here. Epic Waters, funded by an additional sales tax on Grand Prairie residents. This is from the Daily Mail. They broke this story. Once again, outscooping local media. And by the way, I saw nothing of this on our local media other than the Daily Mail and the Dallas Express today. Epic Waters, funded by an additional sales tax on Grand Prairie residents, included on the event list a suggested swimwear for women, which I've shown you. Explore our recommendations. Here you go. Explore our recommendations. They're literally telling you what to wear. Explore our recommendations. And let's see here. And get ready to make us stylish and modest. Remember, women, modesty. And modest splash. Literally, even full body coverings for children. And again, this is about not tempting a man, is my understanding of why they make women dress up so much, but little girls. The water park cost taxpayers $88 million, funded by a quarter-cent sales tax on Grand Prairie residents. And this, of course, organized and run by Epic City Mosque, or East Plano Islamic Center. We'll get to Epic City in just a little bit. We've got some new news on that. Only certain families can go to the park on June 1st when they're having this Muslim Day. It's closed entirely to the general public, the Dallas Express says, who do not identify as Muslim. Again, how are you going to check that I am not a Muslim or I'm a Muslim? If I come up there and dress conservatively or wear a Muslim whatever thing, I'll bet you they'll let me in. Do I just go, Assalamu alaikum? Malaikum salam? And then here's Dana Lash asked this. There would be literal riots if Muslims were similarly excluded, and we all know that's 100% accurate. That would be interesting to think about, isn't it? What if it was a Christian event and no Muslims were allowed? That would be interesting. Yeah, they would freak out. I guarantee you they would. Representative Mitch Little said, this is a place of public accommodation. Epic Waters is owned by the city. Anybody excluding anyone other than Muslims from city-owned property is religious discrimination, period. That's what we need to find out. We need a legal expert to give us their thoughts. I'll see if I can reach out to somebody. That'd be very interesting to talk about that. In just a moment, I've been telling you that Tanner Horner, the murderer of little 7-year-old, and according to all the reports, rapist of Athena Strand and murderer of her, I've been railing on why he needs to be put to death. It's not because the death penalty helps recidivism rates. It doesn't. It's not because it's cheaper. It's not because it's quicker. It's none of those. But it's because it's the right punishment. What we find out today, the defense rested their death penalty case today. And what we found out today is even more heinous, even more in-depth. He is a sexual deviant, according to one of the expert psychiatrists testifying today, and a sadist. He and another witness came forward saying that he was raped by this guy twice. What does that tell you? This guy is an animal. He is committed to hurting and raping people and killing them. He is a threat for the rest of his existence. And that is what is weighed in partially on a death penalty case, whether he will be a threat in prison if he doesn't get the death penalty. That's just one little one. They also say under Texas law there are mitigating factors on that, but they don't define what mitigating factors are. I really hope and pray that he will get the death penalty, and I ask you to pray that he will get the death penalty because it's a righteous punishment for what he's done. But the testimony today is incredible, and it's more damning about how much of a deviant and, to me, a Satanist, a sick, wicked, satanic soul that must be put down. But first, I want to tell you about IRSprob.com. First of all, let's start with this. This is my friend Randy Martin from IRSprob.com and his beautiful wife, Norma. I met them, and my wife and I met them in Sunday school, became good friends with them, and years later, Randy's like, I'd like you to, I'd like to be your partner with your show and be a sponsor. And I said, yes. Here we are, almost 10 years in on our partnership. And he wins Longhorn 100. He's a Longhorn 100 winner, coming in, I think, at number 34. It's a massive honor for Longhorn alumni. And there he is with that honor with his beautiful wife, Norma. Congratulations, Randy Martin from IRSprob.com. It shows how incredible he is at what he does. And if you have IRS problems, you need to call Randy Martin at IRSprob.com, IRSprob.com, or call 214-214-3000, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin has been my CPA, as I said, for a long time. He's incredible. I'm going over there a little later this week to wrap up my taxes for the year with him. And he is incredible. If you need a tax planner, if you have IRS problems, anything like that, if you're widowed and you have IRS issues, reach out, 214-214-3000. That's 214-214-3000, and tell them Chris Crock sent you to IRSprob.com. Okay, and the other thing I got to tell you is I had a blast. Jim Dutton from the host of Texas Home Improvement on radio and TV in DFW and in Houston and Austin. Jim owns Due West Foundation and foundation repair and plumbing, and they're incredible. My wife worked with Jim Dutton for 3 years, and his wife Mary, and we are friends with the whole family. Adam and Johan are his two sons that are also running the business. Jim's dad started it. You don't ever want to have a separate foundation person from a separate plumbing person. Also, foundation people, there's tons of them that are absolutely horrible because I don't believe you have to have a license. It is a racket. You must have a good foundation company, and a great plumber, and that's what Due West Foundation and Plumbing does best. They've done my house for over 11 freaking years. I didn't buy this house till they approved it. If you want the best for plumbing and foundation, call Due West, du-west.com. That's du-west.com. Or call 972-406-0912, 972-406-0912, and tell them Chris Crock sent you. They do concrete leveling, they do retention walls, they do root shields, and, of course, they do foundation and plumbing, and they are the best. All right. Tanner Horner. It was way worse today. It was way worse today because we have a third person who says he raped him twice, and it's a man. He was a boy, though, at the time, saying that it's his cousin. He testified today, surprise witness by the prosecution. Again, showing why Tanner Horner needs to be put to death. Not to save money, not to save time, not to scare others from doing these crimes, but it doesn't do any of that. It's the righteous punishment that sober Texans like you and me have picked and put into law. And it's God's righteousness that the death penalty exists. It's not an eye for an eye. That's Old Testament that went away when Jesus was born and raised and died and raised from the dead for us. It's for the right punishment for the right crime. So you're going to hear from the prosecution's witness today saying that Tanner Horner is a sexual deviant and a sadist. You're going to hear from his cousin who says when I was 10 and he was 13, he raped me, and then he raped me again a couple years later. This is a sick, sexual, deviant monster who fantasized about killing a little girl and raping her, and, by the way, who, according to the testimony today, appears to have driven on the remote route, perhaps over and over again, getting to know the route, and I guarantee you, this sick SOB pleasured himself before he kidnapped her at that location. These are 6 people, and the one thing I wrote was satanic or Satan, right there in reading all this stuff. This is Satan in the flesh. So let me read to you what just blew me away today, and I think we have a very, very, very good chance of getting the death penalty in this case. And if there's not, the justice will not have been done properly. This is from, most of all this is going to be from the Star Telegram's coverage of it today. Final witnesses were today. However, the prosecution will come back for a final rebuttal because the prosecution began the death penalty phase with all of its witnesses. Then the defense brought in their witnesses in the death penalty phase, and they just wrapped up today. And the final witnesses today, state is presenting some rebuttal witnesses today in response to the defense case, which we hear about, including a surprise witness who says that Horner raped him twice as a boy. The discussion of autism, he claims he has autism, that's why. The autism spectrum disorder is 3 is the highest, 1 is the lowest. He's a 1, according to experts. There is no issue with this. You're going to hear in a moment how he planned these things, covered up these things, shows there's no gray area. He knew everything he was doing, and that he was not irrational and unaware of things because of any disabilities. The prosecution told the jury that Horner sexually assaulted Athena. He raped that little girl before killing her. And a DNA analyst, I've told you this before, a DNA analyst for the state, they don't ever rule somebody in as the person. They can only rule you out. And they could not rule out his DNA, his semen from her rape kit. He raped her, is what I unequivocally wholeheartedly believe from the day one, and I was saying it on the air when I was on the radio locally. I'm going to be back, by the way, I'm going to be back on the radio in about 3-4 weeks for Mark Davis for almost the entire week. All right, so I look forward to that. Okay. Prosecution told the jury that he sexually assaulted Athena before killing her. A DNA analyst testified that Horner could not be excluded as the source of male DNA found on swabs in her sexual assault kit. He dumped her naked body into the Trinity River, one of the forks or whatever it's called, in a remote area. At 3 p.m. today, a psychiatrist testified for the prosecution. The psychiatrist said Horner's actions during the abduction showed he had the ability to adapt and change his behavior and solve problems under stress. In other words, any issues he has they're trying to use to get him out of the death penalty are BS. For example, when he started asking Athena questions to keep her calm, and when he tried to cover up the crime, he was trying to calm her down before he violated her and then killed her. They also found evidence, the psychiatrist said, of sexual deviance and sadism. And by the way, sadism is you hear these different terms, and I think it's worth looking it up real fast as far as what the definition is. The deriving of sexual gratification or the tendency to derive sexual gratification from inflicting pain or emotional abuse on others. A 67-pound, 7-year-old girl. Remember what the prosecution opened up their case with. You're about to see what a 250-pound man can do to a 67-pound, 7-year-old girl. The deriving of pleasure or the tendency to derive pleasure from cruelty, extreme cruelty. That is a sadist. Gratification sexually, the tendency to derive sexual gratification from inflicting pain or emotional abuse, deriving pleasure, tendency to derive pleasure from cruelty, extreme cruelty. That is him, and that is why he must be put to death. Unequivocal. The psychiatrist for the prosecution also said that he found evidence of sexual deviance and sadism in Horner's behavior. It was very clear to me he abducted Athena primarily for sex. The one thing that nobody wanted to hear, the one thing that nobody believed, is the one thing he did. And it's glaringly obvious. But I was one of the very few people, because nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to say anything until it's totally obvious and has to be said. But I said at the beginning that I will be surprised. I mean, when this guy was arrested, I said I will be shocked and surprised if he didn't also rape her. I don't want it to happen, but I will be shocked and surprised. And sure as you know what, it happened. He planned this. He salivated over it. He appears to have driven to the location where he dumped her naked body and pleasured himself at that location, is my belief. Every single thing that you think it couldn't be that dark and depraved, it is. Put him in the ground. Pray that the jury unanimously votes to put him in the ground. Sorry, just a lot of heavy stuff there, isn't it? Okay, so it was very clear to me he abducted Athena primarily for sex, said the psychiatrist today for the prosecution. Horner also threatened the little girl and used derogatory language towards her. Yes, that shows that this had nothing to do with any disabilities. He is a sick sadist. Marcos Lopez says, my condolences and prayers to Athena's family. Marcos, thank you. And you can comment, too, if you want. I love reading your comments in real time while we're on the show. It was very clear to me he abducted Athena for sex, primarily. She is an object to him. She is a toy to be used and abused and discarded. The psychiatrist agreed with the prosecution that Horner's actions suggested he planned to kidnap a child. Remember I told you that in the days before, he had covered up the camera on the front of the UPS truck, and he had been ogling and scoping out, it appears from some of the stuff I've read over the coverage, that this other nearby house, also in rural Wise County, on his delivery route, where two twin little girls were. And it was a choice, I think, it was what time and who he lusted for the most. Is sick, you know what. That's what it was. Marcos also says, thank you for being a voice to Athena. Amen, brother. Amen. The audio recording from the truck indicates Horner had previously visited the secluded spot where he took Athena to and sexually assaulted her. That's where I can tell you this. I can't guarantee you nothing, but I practically want to tell you, this guy went to that place and pleasured himself thinking of what he would be doing one day. Because that's how these sick people act. Recording from the FedEx truck indicates he had previously visited the secluded spot where he took Athena to sexually assault her, and he can be heard on the audio describing where they're going as he drives and telling Athena the road is going to get bumpy. He knew what he was doing and where he was going. He had been there before. He asked the defendant, the psychiatrist for the prosecution today, asked the defendant about the sexual assault, and he got upset and denied it. He then told the killer that he heard everything that the killer said to Athena on the audio recording. The killer's anger at that point surprised the psychiatrist. Quote, his stare went right through me because he's an animal. The psychiatrist believes that the killer will be a future danger to society, which is part of the equation in whether to sentence somebody to death under Texas law. The jurors have been told this. So he will be a future danger to society, the psychiatrist says, which is one of the questions the jurors must answer when they decide if the defendant should receive the death penalty. It doesn't really matter the setting, said the psychiatrist, whether it's in prison or anywhere. It doesn't matter the setting. He is going to be a sexual deviant and a sadist and a killer. His cousin testified today. The killer's cousin was a surprise witness. The judge let in. Again, this is in the death penalty phase of the case. The defense rested today, and their prosecution then rebutted. They can do a final rebuttal because the prosecution opened the death penalty phase. Then the defense just wrapped up today, and now the prosecution counter, gave their what do you call it? Counter. I just said it. They're responding. The cross-examination or whatever. No. They get to put on their rebuttal. Thank you. The rebuttal. Tanner Horner's cousin today on the stand alleges that his cousin, Tanner Horner, the murderer and rapist, sexually assaulted him twice when they were children. I am not surprised. Now, this, by the way, brings to the total of 3 people that say he raped him that are not Athena's. And okay, two girls were 16, said he raped them when they were 16 and he was 22. And now his cousin says he raped him twice. Sexual deviant, monster, death penalty. He was raised as the killer's cousin. He said he spoke to representatives of the defense prior to the trial. He asked the defense to get him in contact with the prosecution. They didn't help him. He then said the defense didn't help him get in touch with the prosecution, so then he posted publicly on Facebook about the sexual assault allegations against him and spoke to Texas Ranger Espinoza, who led the whole investigation for the Rangers in this murder and rape case. The killer first sexually assaulted his cousin Billy says, when he was 10. Billy says he was afraid of Tanner, so he went along with it. Tanner was 13 at the time. Billy said Tanner sexually assaulted him again 3 or 4 years later, so he'd be 13 or 14, and this guy would be 16 or 18. Excuse me, 16 or 17. And a couple of years after that, he recalls Tanner saying he wondered what it would be like to kill somebody. This guy was born to rape and kill from day one. And, they've tried to use his being a victim himself when he was growing up. You can be a victim of sexual assault and all sorts of horrible things, and you can become a pastor through the adversity. You can be sexually assaulted, and you can choose to become a licensed practicing counselor to minister to victims of sexual assault like you were. You can be bitter or you can be better. Because you were raped as a child, and I don't doubt what their story is there, because you have Asperger's, it doesn't excuse any of what you did. You chose to do this. You lusted over it, and then you did it. This is from Fox 4 today, just a quick one. The judge told jurors they would spend some time looking at exhibits today before returning to closing arguments tomorrow at 9 a.m. Each side will have up to an hour for closing arguments. The defense brought up its motion asking the judge to preclude the death penalty because Horner has autism, to which the judge said, "Oh, hell no." Denied the motion. I've said it before, and I'll say it again and again, okay? Please just pray that Athena Strand gets justice and that Tanner Horner gets put in the ground, because that's the appropriate justice. All right. And I will remind you again that Romans 13:1 says, God gives the government the sword for a reason. God installs the government, whether you like the government or not, that's installed, and he gives them the sword for a reason. And that if you disobey the laws of the land, you should fear, because he gave them the sword for a reason. Epic City. I think it's important so we don't lose sight of what Epic City really is. They call it the Meadows now, but it's still East Plano Islamic Center. It's a city. And I can't remind you enough of what this is and what they're going to do. Let their own words speak for themselves.
Welcome to Epic 2.0. Epic City is more than just a neighborhood. It's a way of life, a meticulously designed community that brings Islam to the forefront.
Let me go back. You know why? Because I thought I had my wireless headphones connected. They weren't. As soon as I play this, I couldn't hear it. So let me start over again because I want to be able to comment with you as it happens.
Welcome to Epic 2.0.
This is what it's going to be, a total, complete Islamic city. You can bet you I can guarantee the cult of prayer will be blasted like you're in an Islamic country. This is an Islamic-only city, just like the Islamic-only event that the East Plano Islamic Center is having at this water park that I told you about a little earlier, right there. Muslims-only event at a water park coming up June 1st at a publicly owned water park in Grand Prairie, paid for by taxpayers' dollars. Let's go back to the same people. You want to talk about the Islamification of Texas. This is it. This massive mosque is building a massive city, hoping to build a massive city in Josephine, Texas, 40 miles northeast of Dallas, downtown Dallas. They're having Muslim-only major events at places. And, I mean, it's a takeover, little by little. It really is. This is a Muslims-only city, just like this Muslims-only event, and it's the same people. So this is nakedly discriminatory. Let's go back to this original Epic City advertisement that says Muslims only.
Epic City is more than just a neighborhood. It's a way of life.
There's your mosque. That's the center of the entire city. It's an Islamic city.
A meticulously designed community that brings Islam to the forefront.
Okay, the community brings Islam to the forefront. This community is Islam. Islam is this community.
With single-family homes, multifamily town.
By the way, let's go back. They first start out by having the first thing they mention is a mosque. See that lower left there? Mosque, the mosque. That's the first thing they show. It is the crown jewel of this entire city.
A meticulously designed community that brings Islam to the forefront. With single-family homes, multifamily townhomes and apartments.
So they're building a city with Islam at the forefront, meaning only Muslims. Muslims only.
Homes, multifamily townhomes and apartments, senior living, and in the heart a mosque and a school.
An Islamic school, a madrasa. An Islamic school. This will be a complete Islamic city. That's what this is.
Parks for Eid prayer, carnivals, and community events.
The park was made for Muslim prayers. Everything is for Muslims. Nothing is for non-Muslims.
Parks for Eid prayer, carnivals, and community events. We ask Allah to help us complete this project.
Yeah, no, this isn't a Muslim-only city. Saying, mosque at the heart of the whole thing. We ask Allah to help us complete this project. This has nothing to do with anyone who's not a Muslim. This is the most discriminatory development ever to be considered that I can think of, unless something happened in the 30s or 1930s or some Klan thing or something back in the day. This is insanity. And they're still going to do everything, and they're going to win. At every point, they're going to win. I fear the worst. I fear they're going to win. I'm not trying to be nasty here, but I fear the worst. I fear that when everything runs its course, it's going to happen. And you ain't going to find one person that's not Muslim trying to get in there, unless it's somebody. I would love to see, truthfully, like an Elon Musk or Don Huffines. Somebody with money to buy as many of those houses as they can. I would love to see that, knowing they might throw their money away, but to do it because it's right. That's what I would love to see. Every street and area immediately around the Epic Mosque that I drove to was all Muslim. Every house was Muslim. These are houses that are $800,000 to $2 million right there in the whole area. Every strip mall in that immediate area was all Muslim. Everything. But it's not enough. They're going to build a city, a complete Islamic city. Let's go to the latest, though. But, it's so funny. The whole thing is about fair housing, fair housing. How in God's name is this fair housing?
Welcome to Epic 2.0. Epic City is more than just a neighborhood. It's a way of life, a meticulously designed community that brings Islam to the forefront.
A community that brings Islam to the forefront. The words fair housing are all over all these stories. Fair housing, fair housing, fair housing. There is nothing that is fair about this entire thing. And that's why they had a meeting in the, basically, it may not have been dark when the meeting happened, but under the cover of darkness, which is one of the things Ken Paxton filed suit for today. But I'm going to tell you this again. I'm not trying to be a defeatist. I'm not trying to discourage us, but I fear the worst in this. I fear that they will not stop till they get what they want. Let's share the coverage, though. Following coverage is from the Dallas Express, a little bit from the Dallas Morning News, and then from Texas Scorecard. A lot of information on what's going on. Here's the latest. Ken Paxton Friday appealed the Travis County judge's temporary injunction that would have forced the Texas Workforce Commission to move forward on the fair housing documents. Texas Workforce Commission handles the fair housing documents. So, a judge, liberal leftist judge in Travis County, ruled against us, the people. However, Paxton filed an appeal. It pauses anything on that for now, which is good. Second of all, the Double R MUD, Municipal Utility District. That's where, and I'm going to just do a crude explanation of it. A municipal utility district is where you go to the state and you say, or maybe it's the county and the state, I don't know, but you say, we're going to build this city or this subdivision, and we're going to spend all the money on making a utility district, water, sewer, floodplain, or whatever, all that stuff works, all that kind of drainage and stuff. And then after they spend all that money developing that to that point, then they, as they sell the houses, it is a municipal utility districts so they make, when you buy the house, city taxes combined with the people buying the house, something around that nature, is how you recoup the money when you're selling the land, or through taxes, something of that nature. Okay. So the Double R MUD, Municipal Utility District, is the name of theirs that they have at Epic. And they have lost on that because they had a secret meeting, which I'll get into in just a minute. We're all familiar with this, but I'm just making sure you have that part too. Also, Collin County blocked the project's plat for now. This, again, this part's from the Dallas Express. What happens next? It freezes the injunction, Paxton's appeal, freezes the injunction while the 15th Circuit Court of Appeals, or 15th Court of Appeals, decides whether the Workforce Commission must act on the fair housing documents. Fair housing. Again, what's fair housing about that? Now they're like, oh, we changed the name. We changed the name. It's not Epic City, it's the Meadows. Oh, we're not saying Muslims only now. We're saying something else. We all know. This is from the Dallas Morning News. What they would build is this: 1,000 homes, a K-12 faith-based school, it's going to be Muslims, madrasa, a mosque, elderly and assistant livings, apartments, clinics, retail shops, a community college, and sports field. Who will go to the community college? You think any non-Muslims will go? Barely. Who will go to the sports fields? It already says it's for Eid prayers. And then some other stuff, carnivals stuff, but the prayers are first at these parks. Who in God's name is going to go to this place unless you're Muslim? This is a Muslim city. This is like taking a city in Pakistan, or a city in Afghanistan, or a city in Dubai, UAE, Abu Dhabi, or just you can name it, and placing it in our. It is exactly what we were worried about with Sustainable Cities USA. And by the way, I still don't believe one politician, Lance Gooden, congressman, saying, oh, I spoke to them at Sustainable Cities USA, and they tell me they're not going to build. They've stopped. They're not going to build anymore. Oh, that's great. Hey, Lance, do you have a name of who they are that you talk to? Hey, Lance, do you have a piece of paper from them that says they're done, they're not coming to Texas at all ever again? No? Well, then I don't believe you because you're a politician. I mean, I hope he's right, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Do you? No. Now, the September meeting took place for the MUD, Municipal Utility District. This is where they totally violated some laws, Paxton says, and I believe. The September meeting for the municipal utility district took place at an undeveloped parcel of land with no apparent structures that would be suitable for a meeting of this type. In other words, they appear to have not wanted anybody to see anything and did it in secret. And when they did that, they completely no notice for the leadership that it would undergo radical change. They completely voted out. I'll get to more of that in a minute. But they voted out all these people and they put in new people and stuff in some middle of nowhere intersection with dirt. Some meeting of the minds occurred before the public meeting, is what Paxton alleges. Now let's go to the Texas scorecard because they get a little bit more in depth and good on this. Okay. By filing, Paxton did another filing today, and I admire him what he's doing. I hope it works, but I fear the worst, as I said, that they're eventually going to get what they want. In a filing announced today, Double R Municipal Utility District, Paxton says, in Hunt and Collin counties, violated the Texas Open Meetings Act during a September 12th meeting in which the new board was installed and major actions were taken without proper public notice. Paxton's earlier lawsuit targeted the MUD board's qualification. Now, Paxton is going after September 12th field meeting, quote unquote, itself, alleging it violated the Texas Open Meetings Act and asking the court to formally void the annexation and bar future secretive maneuvering. That's right. They don't want this out in the public. They do not. It was held in a remote field, according to Paxton's lawsuit. It resulted in the termination and replacement of legal counsel, the resignation of the entire existing board, and the apparent appointment of a new slate of directors. The newly installed board also attempted to annex more than 400 acres of land associated with Epic City development. So they're literally doing this all apparently in secret. Paxton's office contends the meeting notice failed to provide adequate information to the public, obscuring the location and the scope of the actions under consideration. Lawsuit further alleges officials misrepresented key agenda items, including the extent of involvement with the Epic City project. They're trying to sneak this in, and we caught them. I'm going to say it one last time. I hope that Paxton and Abbott and our state and Hunt and Collin counties are successful in stopping this. But I fear the worst. I think there's no limit to the amount of money they're going to spend, and there's no limit to the amount of time and energy and efforts they're going to stop to put into this to make that Muslim Islamic city. I fear the worst. I hope for the best, but I fear the worst. I got so many more things to share with you that are funny, thought-provoking, entertaining. So here, let's go at it. 53,000 more Texas students awarded school choice. This is absolutely beautiful is what this is. So now 53,000 people now are getting the latest round of Texas Education Freedom Accounts, TIFA awards. Tier 2 is who these folks are. They are families earning at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. That's $66,000 annually for a family of four. They need the help, and God bless them. Previously, the first round had 42,600 students were top-tier students, priority one. They were students with disabilities and their siblings. Demand for the program far exceeds available funding, set at $1 billion. More than 274,000 applications. There's a massive demand. This is freedom of choice. This is a civil rights issue, and I'm very happy. Families receiving awards this week will be notified by email and must decide yay or nay by July 15th. So now we have a total of 95,600. 95,600 families are winners so far. The next wave will be people that make more money and this and that, but the disabled and economically lower economic people are the first priority. It's beautiful. Get them out of those failing schools. This story, Channel 8, is super woke, super leftist, and that's why they are publicly announcing a GoFundMe for a family of illegals from Venezuela. This is out of Alamo Heights, obviously in the San Antonio area. And a mother and her two elementary school, they were going to the bus. She forgot her keys or something. They went back to the house. ICE showed up, rounding her and her kids up. And she was told, she calls them a hotline. They told her to stay in the house. But I says, that's fine, but your children, apparently the children are illegals. So they can take the children, obviously, and deport them. So if you want to be deported with your children, then you need to come out. And she did. She's from Venezuela. These are Biden and Kamala's illegals. They waved a magic wand and said, you now have asylum. You can seek asylum in the country. She has no entitlement. She will not win her case. She is an illegal, and she knows it. But don't worry, Channel 8's publicizing how you can donate money to this illegal family to promote illegals. That's Channel 8's official political statement. We love illegals. We help you find ways to donate to illegals who have no business being here. They're currently being held in an ICE facility in Dilley, Texas, which is that one far remote one. Good. A GoFundMe raised $28,000. If you would like to help this illegal family, Channel 8 gives you a link to give because they love illegals. They love illegals. This is a great FAFO story. Do you have a firearm? Do you carry it with you at all times? First of all, don't own a gun or have a gun if you've never been trained, because it will be used against you. I'm channeling my friend and longtime Atlanta police officer and former Marine who taught me everything and loaned me his gun way back when after we shot, and he trained me. Loaned me his gun, said, take it home for the weekend. My kids and wife were out of town. He's like, take it home for the weekend or for the week while they're out of town and just see how you like it. See if you can do it. I was very nervous for a while, but then I got more accustomed to it. And he said that, yeah, don't even have a taser if you're not trained, because they'll use it against you. Well, here's somebody who carries. My point I was trying to make, though, if you are comfortable, if you're a firearm owner and you carry sometimes, carry all the time. It is a burden. It's the truth. It's a burden. But this could be you. It looks like a man and two women and two children, or several children, were in a car when some guy in Garland hit two other vehicles before pulling into a nearby gas station. Investigators say he then tried unsuccessfully to take multiple vehicles by force in gas station parking lot. Then he walked across Dairy Road to a convenience store where he approached a white Chevrolet Impala occupied by a driver, two women, and several children. There was a struggle. Let me play the audio because he gets popped and dropped, and I'm grateful that he got popped and dropped. This is street justice. You want to mess with people? Here you go.
Get the kids out of the way. Call 911, call 911, call 911. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You see he had a gun in his hand here.
No, don't do it. Don't
see his hands.
do it.
He's got a gun right there at the bottom.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't.
He got a dirt nap today. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. He got a dirt nap today. During the struggle, the driver pulled out a handgun and fired, striking the suspect. The man was taken to the local hospital where he's pronounced dead. There you go. Carry your firearm. Even like today and yesterday when I was out and about, I was like reminding myself. I stopped by Home Depot to pick up some of those lawn bags, whatever, you know. And I was walking in my car. I reminded myself, middle of the day, but still have your head on a swivel. Not like a paranoid whatever, but just keep your eyes open and be aware and don't have that phone in your hand. Here we go. This is a great story. This is great, and I am not surprised at all. Poor Americans who attend church regularly are happier than rich Americans who never go. Poor Americans who attend church regularly are happier than rich Americans who never go. Behavioral scientist William von Hippel thought he'd made a coding error, but he hadn't. Here's the evidence, in charts. Regularly attending services has a bigger impact on your happiness, he says, than wealth, he writes. Money buys a fair bit of happiness, but connection gives you more bang for the buck. What's happening? Rich people already have most of what money buys. What they lack is what churches provide for free, weekly, repeated contact with people who know your name. So there's the chart proving, laying out what the research shows. But let me just say this. What churches provide for free: weekly, repeated contact with people who know your name. It's just much bigger than that. There is a deep connection. I do about half the teaching now in my Sunday school class, half the time. And I just did it yesterday. And there is a beautiful couple who we are very close with and love very much. They're from Peru. Legally came here from Peru. And they're massive Trump fans and conservative Christians and such. A wonderful, beautiful woman who is, I think she's Mexican American. She speaks Spanish completely fluently. She comes. She's amazing. She's on fire. She's a recent, Christian, if you will. We have a man who's a little older than me, who is awesome. We have a lady who plays the harp for our choir, and a couple of, it's just a beautiful plethora of people. And as I was teaching, there were some things I did or went over, and I have such spiritual highs. I have such spiritual highs that you cannot fake, you cannot create. They happen. It's a movement, people would say, of the Holy Spirit. These people are amazing. We pray for each other. We know each other. When things happen, we're all aware. When we can help out, we do. It's a sense of love, meaningfulness, and community. What I think is the most beautiful thing in the world is how these folks are from totally different parts of the world, totally different walks of life, but we share the deepest, most important things in common, and that you can't see. It's beautiful, and that is absolute happiness, pure dopamine. I don't know where I'm getting some dings from. Sorry about those noises that are coming through on the computer. I must have like Facebook open or something. Yeah, I got something open. There it is. Okay. Whoop-dee. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So, where were we? There we go. Okay. Von Hippel is the researcher, is direct about the cost of your well-being. I suspect that wealthy, educated urbanites are paying a steeper price for their lifestyle than they realize. Many of us have paid too great a price in connection for our increased autonomy. So there it is. We can be poor, broke, and be a church member and be a lot happier than a wealthy person who doesn't go to church. Let's see what I have here from my friend Marcos Lopez. Wiley ISD School Board meeting, May 18th at 5:45. Yes, we're all going to be there again because I played it for you the other day. Libs of TikTok played my video from the meeting at Wiley ISD a couple weeks ago from that meeting. Libs of TikTok picked it up for a second time and put it out. The Prager University picked it out. Blue Lives Matter picked it up and sent it out there. This is just nowhere near from being over with, and it's not beating a dead horse. It's fighting for accountability because no one's been fired there. While ISD for the unbelievable passing out of Qurans, hijabs, and Qurans. Nobody was fired. The judge, I'm sure you caught this today, the judge who is handling the guy who tried to murder President Trump, the third attempted assassination at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Judge Zia Faruqi, said he was fascinated and disturbed by the attempted presidential assassin's treatment in jail. He was placed on suicide watch when he was first in prison. Yes, he was placed on suicide watch because he told investigators he didn't expect to survive the attack. So this is the judge. And here's what he said today. He apologized to the man who tried to murder President Trump. Quote, "To me, it's extremely disturbing that he has put in 5-point restraints. He's put in 5-point restraints. A person with no criminal history. Well, the problem is that he tried to kill the president. That's a bit of a problem. He says, it's troubling. I've never heard of one January... Here he goes. He pulls up January 6th. Look at this guy. This guy's a puke. I've never heard of one January 6th defendant who was put in 5-point restraints or in a safe cell. If the only way to keep him safe is the most punitive thing, that's a problem. This guy tried to murder the freaking president of the United States. He shot one of the buckshots he shot hit center square right on a Secret Service agent's metal vest. There was not one gun that was in the Capitol by the January 6ers. There was not one gun fired by anyone in January 6th. This guy is a crazed leftist. He went on and said, pardons may erase convictions. Speaking of January 6th, nobody brought up January 6th except for this guy. He is all about leftist liberalism and vindictiveness in his courtroom. Pardons may erase convictions, he says, but they don't erase history. They were hanging gallows outside. Now, there may have been some makeshift thing by some of the kooks that were rightfully arrested and stuff, but there were no hanging gallows that I'm aware of. So, but he probably reads like MSNBC or MS Now stuff or whatever. I don't know. What am I to say to Allen, the attempted murderer of the president? What am I to say to Allen? That this is going to be a fair process if we're putting him in a safe cell when he's not supposed to be in there. At a minimum, I should be apologizing to him, this crazed judge said. We are obligated to make sure he's taken care of, Mr. Allen. I'm sorry that things have not been the way they were supposed to. I'm sorry. He's basically saying, I'm sorry you didn't get to kill the president. That's my interpretation of it. So there he is. Crazy leftist judge, Zia Mustafa Faruqi. The first ever Muslim magistrate judge. I'm not surprised that he's the first magistrate Muslim judge ever, and he's going out and saying these horrible things because he's a crazed leftist. This is great. What happens when the police are not allowed to enforce the law? What happens when criminals are set free and prosecutions are focused on police officers and law-abiding citizens? You get places like Walgreens on the south side of Chicago shutting down after total shoplifting crises all the time, and nobody's arrested, nobody's put in jail, none of that stuff. Walgreens leaves. So how do the crazed leftist Marxist lunatics on south side of Chicago respond with their fake community leaders? By saying that Walgreens should be prosecuted. By the way, Walgreens is a Chicago-based company.
Walgreens should be charged with first-degree corporate abandonment.
This guy, he does want that Marxist leftist economy where the government controls everything. You can't close down if you open in a black neighborhood, even if it's plagued with crime.
Walgreens should be charged with first-degree corporate abandonment.
Yes.
It should be a crime the way they're treating our elders.
Yes.
It should be a crime the way they're treating our families.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, see, let's see. Hold on. Look, we gotta look at that. Hold on. Wait, where are we going here? I'm trying to find that shelving. Hold on.
The way they're treating our families.
There's your empty shelves from all the theft and having to put that stuff behind counters and lock it up. Store closing permanently. There it is. No more corporate abandonment. So you want Walgreens to keep a store open even if they constantly are riddled with crime and shoplifting and theft and losing tons of money. You would force them. This is just like the leftists after the Dixie Chicks insulted and attacked President George Bush from across the pond. And everybody that loves country music, almost all of them are conservative. And they attacked them, and they said, we don't want to hear their music again. And all the leftists who never listen to country music because they hate that stuff, thinking, rightfully so, it's a lot of conservatives. I know it's not as much anymore, but what they did was they were saying, all the leftists were saying they were demanding country music stations play the Dixie Chicks music when none of the customers of those stations wanted to hear the Dixie Chicks. They all despised them after that. And the leftists were trying to force commercial radio stations to play music they did not want to play because their customers didn't want to hear it. Just like the left here is demanding Walgreens keep the store open, even though they allow theft and it runs rampant. They don't arrest and prosecute theft because it's a leftist, Marxist government that they put in power. Shocker. Here, this is new too from journalist Colin Rugg. Look at this. This is crazy. Do crocodiles grab men or women and eat them whole? Yes. poor fellow was eaten alive by that crocodile. They found remains of several people inside of this crocodile. There were massive floods that swept him and others away, and I guess the crocodiles were just eating them up. They captured the crocodile, they airlifted it, did an autopsy on it, and they did find his remains inside of the crocodile. I wonder what the crocodile's thinking. Is it still alive? If so, I wonder what it's thinking, looking up, what's going on here? I need some help down here, is what the crocodile's thinking. The tail's wiggling. It looks like he's looking down. I don't know if he's... I don't know. Yeah, you can see the tail. The tail's wagging. I mean, I would assume it's dead, but I don't know. Wow. Crikey. Okay, police airlift crocodile with the body of a 59-year-old businessman inside. Local police in South Africa. They sound like they're from Australia, so if you say crikey, they'll really get them mad. They say that they suspected the crocodile ate the man after observing it from drones. They then shot it. Oh, they shot it and airlifted it off. I mean, I assume it wasn't alive, but it looked like it was. When they landed back on the ground, the crocodile was sliced open. Human remains were found. The remains are believed to be those of him, the 59-year-old, who had previously been swept away in raging floodwaters. His ring was found inside the animal, along with 6 other pair of shoes, which authorities fear may belong to other victims, obviously. On Monday, he reportedly tried to drive over the flooded bridge to reach his hotel and bar, but he and his truck were swept into the water. He was swept down the river where crocodiles were waiting for prey. Holy gosh. It's unclear if he was already deceased when he was eaten, but authorities believe some of his other remains may have been eaten by other crocodiles. Well, I mean, you've seen, like, when they throw stuff in the water, they're tearing at it they're all trying to get a piece of it. Okay, here we go. After 43 years in DART, why did Highland Park voters choose to leave DART? Because they were one of the first people that overwhelmingly supported it back in the day. Forced communities. Why? Because it's the mugger mover. Because it's the jail rail. One of the areas for DART are not too far from my place, and we drive by and you see people aggressively panhandling or looking absolutely horrible, and it's right by where the jail rail, the mugger mover stops. I think Richardson has a couple of stops, and then you have Plano, and then you have, I think it ends in Plano. Anyways, in Plano, they don't enforce anything. And in Plano is where you see bums everywhere. Up and down, all around the mugger mover. There was an area by where my daughter's very good friend used to work, and they are aggressive. They go in on one side of 75, and I think it's Parker or Park. I don't know which one. They get so confusing. There's a Target, and they go in there, and on the other side, there's a lot of shops and stores in there. They go in there too. That's bad. So I congratulate Highland Park for saying we don't want the mugger mover. Jimmy Kimmel, this guy. Rudy Giuliani was reportedly on his deathbed today, but he's doing better all of a sudden. At least now, I hope he makes it. Trust me, he's America's mayor, best mayor New York City ever had. I have a picture of me. I met him when I was interning for Dateline and NBC. There was a quick segment they were doing with him, so we met him under the Brooklyn Bridge. When he pulled up, it was like the president was pulling up. Several unmarked SUVs, several with tons of security. But he absolutely was the best mayor New York City's ever had. So thankfully he's still alive. But Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about him dying. And then this happens today. It's unbelievable. Last night he said America's mayor Rudy Giuliani rose from the grave to weigh in on the ongoing drama involving me. So now, unfortunately, and pray he doesn't, but he could be going to the grave soon. So, Jimmy, yeah, anyways, keep putting your foot in your mouth and getting your ass handed to yourself. Excuse me. Gary Sinise and Joe Montana to host Memorial Day concert marking the 250th anniversary of the U.S., which I say that is awesome. Actors Joe Montana and Gary Sinise will honor the 250th anniversary of the United States and its service members. This reminds me, I whenever I'm awake and my wife is in bed, because sometimes I stay up later than her, I like to watch war movies. And I discovered on HBO a 9-part series on the Pacific in World War II. And I'm like, why did I never see this before? And it's one of the ones that Tom Hanks, I know Tom Hanks is a leftist or whatever, but he does great stuff for World War II movies. He really does. His Playtone company. He and, who's the other guy? Really, really big director. I can't remember which one it is. Spielberg or somebody else like that. But they do a lot of World War II stuff. And it was so awesome. And Gary Sinise loves our soldiers, as we all know, our troops. So that's going to be great. And it's just the beginning of many things we're going to see. And leftists are going to still try to, boycott it because Trump's the president right now. But they can go pound sand. God bless the USA. God bless all of our veterans. Oh, this is great. Hey, this is one reason why you don't ever want to propose, pop the question, and if you're at a public baseball game, Fenway Park, proposal on the screen. It was up there on the screen, and guess what? It appears she said no. Notice you're not seeing her go, oh my gosh, they kiss and everything. Yeah.
She doesn't seem very happy.
Did you hear that? She doesn't seem very happy. She's on the Jumbotron. She knows it. No ring, no nothing. It looks like he pointed up to the Jumbotron. Yeah. Yep, he pointed up, and she's like, "Oh, you jerk." Here we go from the Daily Mail. Excruciatingly awkward moment. Red Sox fan. Very public Fenway Park proposal is rejected. A moment not to forget. Oh, wait, a moment to forget. The Daily Mail says the fan currently known only as Douglas and his girlfriend Sarah, the wife of billionaire Red Sox owner who captioned her Instagram story, quieter reaction on this one. In the video, he can be seen turning to Sarah while the message flashes up on the screen. Sarah Lynn, will you marry me? It appears the answer is no. Dude, you got to know this before you do that. Or it's got to be glaringly obvious. Wow. People are mad that Buc-ee's has a major rule change. It's led some gas station fans furious, says the Daily Mail. It's already sparked a lively debate. Now, here's what they're saying. You cannot go into the store, prepay your gas, and then pump later. People go in there, apparently, park their cars, and leave them for a long time while they go in the store. They say, nope, no more of that. You have to fill up at the pump. But, hold on. You have to pay at the pump before you fill up. But, hold on. What happens, and I don't know if we did that. Last time, we used to go to Buc-ee's a little bit more regularly when I was with the Boy Scouts with my son. Conservative homeschool troop that we were a part of. But he eagled out, I can't believe it's going to be almost 5 years now. It's insane. Hit 18. But I think I've parked at the gas pump and left it there. I fill up, but leave it there and go to the bathroom, buy stuff, and come back out. So I don't think they're going to try to harass people that are fill up their tanks and then go. I don't know how that works, but it sparked a lively debate. Some customers questioning whether it genuinely improves efficiency or simply strips away a layer of convenience that helped define the Buc-ee's experience. It removes what some call jokingly as the built-in excuse to wander inside the store browse the merchandise, as well as eliminating the practice of sitting at a pump while making a purchase inside. Supporters of the chain argue the fix is straightforward. Pay at the pump, move your vehicle promptly, and avoid fuel bays, turning them into parking spaces. The ones threatening to boycott over it are the ones other customers don't want to deal with in the stores anyways, so win-win, says one guy. Anyways, I don't know. It's tough because it's a mega store. What do you expect? At any normal gas station, it is commonplace for you and me to park our car, fill it up, and go in. And so I don't think Buc-ee's should be different. I don't think it's an issue, really. I mean, what's the difference? I don't prepay. How do you know? I remember when I was broke and I was young, I would prepay because all I had is like $10. You know what I mean? But now I don't prepay ever. I just fill it up. I don't get it. Tesla robotaxi fleet gains ground in Dallas as Texas driverless race grows, says Dallas Express. Tesla has unsupervised robotaxis. They got 32 total in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, 5 in Dallas. Waymo has 300 in Austin. They're also in Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. I absolutely despise this concept. I envision them hitting a kid or killing somebody. Right now, I've told you that in San Antonio, there's a school district where the Waymos are literally pulling up to where parents are dropping their children off at school, driving the opposite direction of the parents and the wrong way on the road, where the drop-off place is, driving the opposite way, not stopping for children or parents crossing, and just going right through it on the wrong way. No way. And a Waymo vehicle was blocking emergency people. Remember the terrorist? The radical Islamic terrorist, the naturalized citizen who shut up that Austin bar in an Iranian terrorism act, who killing 3 people. A Waymo was blocking emergency responders. A cop had to somehow break into the car and take it over. I got no tolerance for this crap, man. No tolerance. Gayle King, I couldn't find it on Twitter to download it, so I'll just tell you, I watched this on Daily Mail. It's unbelievable. Gayle King had Elizabeth Smart on. Remember Elizabeth Smart, the little 14-year-old Mormon girl, who's a beautiful young lady who was kidnapped and raped up to 3 or 4 times a day, reportedly. Now she's an adult. She's got a child or 2. She's married, and she's doing professional bodybuilding. So I guess she's got a book or something. She's promoting some of the stuff. So she goes on Gayle King with CBS, and I can't stand her. She's Oprah's best friend. She's a raging leftist. But she literally asked Elizabeth Smart about how she was raped as a teenager and how she would later learn to become intimate with her husband. And then she says this. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. Gayle King asked Elizabeth Smart this morning on CBS News. You revealed later on that after being kidnapped at 14, you were raped every single day. You had no sexual experience at the time. Someone asked me, why didn't she get pregnant during that time? Do you know why you never got pregnant during that time? Adding that she is very glad you didn't get pregnant. I'm very glad I didn't either. But she's literally like, hey, so how did that work out? How come you didn't get pregnant? I mean, I don't know, man. It seems pretty sick. Honestly, I'm just a little late bloomer. I didn't start my period until I was in captivity, towards the end of my captivity. Great question, Gayle. Apparently satisfied with the explanation, King went on and asked how Smart was able to learn to trust and have 3 children with her husband. Well, rape and loving intimacy are 2 different things, Gayle King. Smart replied. All right, what else do I have for you here? Okay. Joe Biden and his administration, when Spirit Airlines came to Joe Biden and said, would you allow us to merge with JetBlue? JetBlue wants to buy us and merge. JetBlue is a very well-performing company, very competent. They could have saved Spirit. Joe Biden and his administration said, no, you're going to make prices higher. You're going to make less competition, so no. And so what do you get? Spirit collapsed. 3 a.m., was it Saturday morning? No more Spirit Airlines. 14,000 Americans lost their jobs because Joe Biden wouldn't allow JetBlue to buy Spirit Airlines and make it profitable like JetBlue. Great job, Joe Biden administration and Democrats. Great job. what does Elizabeth Warren say about competition and we can't let the big companies gobble them all up? Well, you got your wish, and guess what? No more company. 14,000 people lost their jobs this weekend. 14,000 people. This perhaps, let's see, I got some other stuff to play for you that I haven't played yet, I think. Oh my gosh. If you're a little squeamish, you might not want to watch this, but here is a guy in Austin today. I don't think there's much to the story other than just watching it, but let me just show you, if I scroll down a little bit, I'll read to you what it says. The policies of Austin with leftists. I got to scroll down on my little Twitter feed to make sure I give you the dirt on this. It's very short, but here we go. Austin has become a literal S-word show. Well, this is what happens when you have a very, very liberal city and how you run it. Look at this. Watch this. This is in Austin. Let's see. He panhandles. See that? He's panhandling, asking everybody walking by, "Can you give me some money? Can you give me some money?" No, no, no. So know what he says? Okay, I'll just take a dump right here. Wow. So you might be walking down the street. I don't know if that's 6th Street, Congress Avenue, where it is, and then step in it just like you're in San Francisco. The poop maps. By the way, could you imagine if one of those 3 people gave him money and touched his hand, knowing that he does this? Merry Christmas. I love the intellectual music. Doesn't it just add a nice touch to it? And I think the most disturbing news of the day is what I've saved for the last. I don't know how to tell you this. I know that many of you were looking forward to this, and I know I was. The Pussycat Dolls cancel, all caps, cancel their reunion tour due to low ticket sales amid a feud with former bandmates. That's right, the Pussycat Dolls. I don't even know, there was some girl band in the, like for like pop or something. The Pussycat Dolls have canceled the North American leg of their PCD Forever tour date. Pussycat Dolls Forever tour date due to low ticket sales. I am shocked. The girl group, which recently reunited as a trio, pulled the plug on all 33 dates across the U.S. and Canada. Almost all the U.S. venues have struggled to fill seats since tickets went on sale in March, with some locations barely even a quarter full. Well, then how, in God's name, by the way, I had to scroll down for the tweet on the guy taking a dump on the streets of Austin, and it's still playing on a loop, so I have to get that out of my face. Sorry. Like my wife and her friends went to a New Kids on the Block concert, which is like, that would be like, I can't even describe how bad it would be to me if I had to go through that. But they wanted to go. They had a great time, which is good for them. But oh my gosh. But they sell tickets. Apparently these chicks cannot sell the tickets. There you go. Why am I not surprised? This show's been brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems. Specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Use Randy Martin. He's my CPA, has been for almost 10 years now. Call him at 214